Stage 3. What's happening financially? So what's happening here? Do you have enough money?
No. Never.
Never you have enough money. Okay, so what are you going to do?
Pushing the product so as fast as you can.
Forget about the product. You are responsible for the financials. What's happening financially? Is the company profitable? No, not profitable, not yet. Do you have cash in from sales or revenues? You do, right? Because you found first customers, right? So you have a little bit of cash coming in. How do you compensate for this gap between sales coming and the expenses you have? You need to get what? More funding. From where you will get the funding? Banks. If you get money from the banks, this will be in the form of loan, right? And this is a whole different game.
That'd be tough.
I haven't heard much about startups getting loans. Usually startups, special technology startups, they are getting investment, right? So let's say that either you will start getting more money from not seed funding anymore because you reach a stage that you need more money now, right? Angel investors or VCs. Tell us about reaching out to VCs or angel investors, or you want to stay with angels, or you don't want to get more money. What's happening? Okay.
So we talked about VCs. One of the things that does is put you on a decline, where you're going to have to get that money back to them before they're funded.
Yeah.
Their fund basically needs to liquidate.
Yeah. Bill Olat, the executive director of the Trust Center, the Intrapreneurship Center. So I have a startup, and when we started, we were incubated in the Beehive. The Beehive is a kind of a shared office space in E52. So he came one day and he was like speaking about what we were doing and like supporting us, and he said, be aware of VC money. VC money is like rocket fuel. If you put it in a car, it will destroy it. Right? It will destroy it. So you want to get the VC money when you are ready, when you have the rocket that can absorb this rocket fuel. Right? Because VC money, if you're not ready for it, it can destroy the whole thing. It's very powerful, very powerful. Lots of money, but it puts you on the clock. You have one person or two persons from the VC sitting on your board of directors. If you're getting investment, you need to have board of directors, right? And board of directors are very interesting. Most of the time we think that the CEO is sitting on top of the organization, right? Most of the time. He or she is making all the decisions, the CEO. But the reality is, if there is a board of directors, the board of directors can fire the CEO, right? I think a good analogy for it could be like the Congress, the president, and the people, right? So the body on top of the organization is actually the one making all the policies and can control the whole thing, right? So board of directors is a very powerful thing. That's why investors, they don't sit on your executive team, they sit on the board of directors. Because they have the power to fire the CEO. And any major decisions, any major investments, it needs to be approved by the board of directors. Right? So board of directors, maybe VCs. What will it take to get money from VCs?
We were talking about basically cleaning up our financial systems a lot and coming up with tighter models and budgets and other factors for actually not only just getting money, but also running the business and monitoring the business. So going forward, having lots of metrics.
Yeah. So you need to have lots of measures, lots of tools in place to monitor all the financial performance, because you will be like accountable in front of the VCs for all the money that you are getting, right?
Yep. So goals, quarterly, annual, otherwise.
Yeah. Interesting. What's happening on the product side?
So we're looking at manufacturing options to get the first run.
So you are past prototyping. You have a working product that you sold, version 1.0?
Right.
Okay.
And so we're looking at where we should manufacture and what are the suppliers. Have a lot of decisions to
Okay.
make sure to buy across.
Do you manufacture in the US or China or somewhere else? Right. And how you will answer such a question? What do you need to do?
How to travel and see the manufacturing.
Could be traveling, could be networking, could be lots of research. So again, lots of networking. You need to ask lots of people and you need to know people, right?
We also looked at what the product life was, and looking down the line of if it fails, what to do if it fails, how to support it with the customer.
Very important thing that come here. Now you sold to few customers. You need to support the sold units. Not only thinking about producing more units, but also supporting the ones that you already produced.
And therefore, we're also faced with new problems like inventory, even for samples.
Very interesting.
And that will impact the position.
Very interesting. Inventory. Great. Quality control. You start worrying about quality, right? Because now it's not, you are trying to be as professional as you can. You are established now. You are not like beta version. You are selling to customers. And people to know about your company. And you are afraid that your brand or your image might be destroyed because of like some lousy units, right? So quality control, right? Great. Any other thing? Yes?
We also start to work next generation products, to improve the products.
Very interesting. You will start thinking about, okay, so this is version 1.0. What about version 1.1 or version 2.0, right? So we'll start thinking about next gen. Very good. What's happening on the team? How many people are in the team now, roughly?
Bringing it up to around 10.
10. Why is that?
Now you have a lot more to support with your customer base. You have
Exactly. Now you need to support, and you need to do what? Marketing, sales, right? And also you need to do lots of engineering, right? You need to continue the next generation, the quality control, all these kind of things. You will hire more people, right? And what kind of problems will arise from that?
communication, networking,
Communication issues. Tell us about the communication problems. Why would we have communication problems here?
because at this point not everyone can discuss forever about it.
Yeah.
Have to carry and follow out.
Before that, if you want to make any decision, how many people were taking the decisions? 2. Very easy. We come together, we send emails, we speak on the phone. But now, with 10 people, you cannot do it anymore. So what you will start doing now? You will start dividing tasks. You will make clear decision making. What kind of decisions like those 5 people can make on their own, because you don't want to be the bottleneck. You don't want to make all the decisions, right? So we'll start thinking about some sort of limits of authority, right? LOA, right? Yes, you have a question.
Press releases. Someone is make press releases to get the word out.
Yeah, I think the customers team will speak about it, right? You have this part of the PR and the marketing, right? So Communication. What else? Decision making. You will have a more implicit, more explicit, more sophisticated decision making in place, right? You will do more splitting of roles, right? Because 10 people, you don't want people to do the same thing. You want to make sure that there is clear split of tasks. And what else you will do? 10 people, very important. Will they all be in the same team?
Maybe to organize, but one thing you perhaps are not up to now is you need to find also a way to pay them to make the commit to the firm. So
Yeah, compensation issues. So compensation, very interesting. So in the beginning, you were compensated by what as co-founders? What was the financial motivation for you? The equity. This was the financial motivation for you. But now if you are bringing people to the company and they don't have as large equity as you do, so you can combine cash and equity compensation. Or if you have the funding, you can compensate them by cash only, right? But usually you give a little bit of equity, 0.5%, 1%, whatever, right? So now you need to be creative about the compensation, and you need to think about it. You don't want to lose the talent you are bringing to the company. So you will have all kind of problems of talent acquisition. How you keep the people, because losing someone from the team, especially if they are good performers, is a big loss, because you already invested time, energy, and money in bringing them up to speed and make them understand the technology, understand what you're trying to do, have some idea about the market, have some idea about the customers, all what you have been doing the last few months, right? So losing someone is not good, right? So retention. You will start worrying about that. You didn't have this sort of problem in the first 2 stages. Totally different problems.
Well, I think that's the most important thing now, because you have to discuss the equity part in number 2.
Okay.
So I think it has to be discussed in this section, because let's say you and I are partners and the company does well, and after, let's say you have 50 and I have 50, and after a year you say, I want to do something else, I'm going to leave, and you have 50. So you invest the equity. So
yeah, so that's why I said that equity splitting stuff, it's a whole thing on itself. I mean, exactly. There, people developed ways to overcome these kind of problems. What if we agree on the equity, and the next day said, okay, I'm doing something else? Will I go with the equity I have? No. People developed some mechanism called vesting. And what's vesting is, yes, we agree that you will take 50%, but you're not taking the 50% now. You will take the 50% after you work 5 years in the company. So we make sure that you are committed to be in the company for 5 years. If you leave before that, there are different ways. Either you lose everything, or you get the equity that's worth the time you spend in the company. So there is lots of developed mechanisms around these kind of things. And you can learn about it on the internet. You can, I mean, again, tactics are there. But now, you see, you start seeing when you will need to worry about it. It does not need to be exactly in the stage, but you know that this is where it will come, right? Thank you for bringing this up. Customers. What's happening on the customer side?
We're trying to move from first customers to more of a mass market.
Mass. How we will do this shift?
We have to amplify our message. Maybe we're using PR to get our business out there to the press.
Yeah.
Marketing money.
So now you will start moving from the early adopters, the risk-taking users, into the masses, right? And you want to be appealing to the masses, so you want to use PR and marketing tools in order to reach out to the masses, right? And this costs money, right? Mainly the problem will be getting the money to finance these kind of things. Any other thing related to customers? Things you need to worry about? Legality? What about legality? Why do you need to worry about that?
I mean, depends on what product you're selling, but if the product could end up in, some sort of health hazard, like for example, if you're selling any kind of hardware, most likely someone might just sue you for being like, oh, my child
Yeah.
following a piece of hardware died. You can say that children couldn't use it. So things like even stupid things like that, you need some sort of legal backing.
You start worrying about these kind of things, right? You need to hire a lawyer to make sure that you are covered. Terms of use, disclaimers, warranties, these kind of things. Insurance. If you are selling to organizations, contracts, right? Service agreements, these kind of things, right? So start worrying about that, because now it's no longer swimming on the beach, right? Now you are going to the deep water, right? So you want to make sure that you are covered. So, do you see the logic? Was this useful? What do you think? On a scale from 0 to 10, how many of you say that this is totally not useful? 0. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Great. Why do you think that's not very useful? You said 6, right?
I said 4.
4.
So you started out by talking about this class as talking about the complexities and why starting a company is nonlinear.
Yeah.
And you're presenting a very linear picture here.
Yeah.
So I think this kind of thing you can get in a book in 10 pages.
True. You are right. I will answer you in a minute. And you said 10, right? Why you give it 10?
What we did today, because it's just common sense, but you have to put it out there. It's like right the business model, and you have to put everything about the things that will happen by using experience. And if you put everything down, you basically have a vision. Your vision, that's your vision. And once you fill in the gaps, I mean, we're doing generalities, but if you put values for everything, it gives you like a clear idea of where you want to be.
It's kind of perspective, right? Very good. So, I'll skip that for now. I'm not speaking about that. Okay. So, in the last few minutes, back to complexity. So what we did here is discussing the concept of the life cycle. So we started off by saying there are different perspectives. If we think that a startup is an organism that we need to look at from different views, these are the views, right? And then we said, okay, let's see how these views will look like over time. Bless you. Right? And this is what we did. What we haven't discussed is the relationship between these views across the life cycle. And this is one of the things that I have been working on. In order to understand that, there are different ways to visualize it. I use a technique called system dynamics. It's a modeling technique. And basically, I try to visualize the relationship between these kind of views. So just to simplify, system dynamics is a little bit complex, but I will show you like a very simplified version, and then you will see the whole model. So this is very similar to perspectives, but it's again more compact. So this is one sector of the whole system. We're describing the startup system now, right? So this sector is called the people or the employee sector. And the kind of variables within the sector are the hiring and turnover rate, right? the core team strengths. And this is like describing how strong is the founding team. And the strengths is defined by skills, network, background, experience, connection, all these kind of things. It will add to the strengths of the team. This will impact credibility in raising funding. It will impact attracting other people to join the team, finding channels to reach out to customers, finding the right people to produce in, these kind of things, right? Job attractiveness, and this is something, a variable related to the firm attractiveness. How attractive is your company for other people to join, right? What do you think of Google? Is Google having any problem attracting talent? Do they have any problem attracting talent? And why is that? Why? Why the job is very attractive?
They have a nice workplace, they have a great team, the idea of sort of responsiveness to employee ideas.
Was this natural, or they had to spend effort and time and money? So they did that in order to make Google an attractive place to work in. Because it's very important, the attractiveness, because if your firm is attractive, you wouldn't have problem hiring the right people, the best talent in place, right? So job attractiveness or firm attractiveness is a very important variable. How you can build this, how you can make your team attractive. Burnout. If your team working 15 hours a day for 3 months, is this a sustainable work-life balance? No. I mean, after all, they are human beings, right? So how do you manage this burnout? How do you manage that you have lots of customers coming in and you want to produce lots of products and you want to support the products, and at the same time you want to raise funding, and at the same time not killing your people? So how you manage that? Psychological ownership. This has to do with the retention, right? If people feel that they don't own the company, they are not, they are just used in the company, they are not vested in the company, right? This could impact the retention. Productivity, right? There are lots of things that can impact the productivity of the people. It could be the communication. If we have problems in the communication, productivity will drop, right? Many things. If we are in the right in a place which is far away from our target customers, we'll spend lots of time trying to reach out to those customers, or the manufacturing facilities, or the investors, right? So the location is very important. Productivity, right? The second section is of the system is related to the product. So product development. And this is measured mainly in features, right? Product development and phase out. This how fast you develop features and how fast you get rid of the features you don't want, right? Engineering effort, and this is the amount of engineering that you put. Service quality turn out to be a very important thing, right? The after-sales support that you are providing. Product attractiveness, again, how attractive is your product? And this has to do with word of mouth, value proposition, pricing, marketing, number. The more users you have, the more attractive is your product. Lots of variables impact product attractiveness. And value proposition, which is, it could be defined as ratio between the features you provide and the price you charge, right? The value proposition. The next section is sales and marketing, and this is measuring the number of customers you have, right? The rate of sales, how fast you can sell units, and how fast you can lose customers, right? Sales effort, how much hours you put in sales. Word of mouth, and this is very important. Do your customers speak positively about the product or not? Because word of mouth is actually more effective than all sorts of PR and marketing you can do. If your customers are satisfied, very happy, and they love what you're doing, and they love the kind of service you provide, you will sell like hell, right? Pricing, right? This is something that on the customer's side you will be like thinking about. How do we price the product that we manufacture, right? Should we price it at full in the beginning? Should we subsidize it? Should we sell it at a discount? What would be the pricing model? And how is this related to the cost? And this leads us to the fourth section, which is the financials, right? Revenues. And this probably in the modeling, this is the most straightforward, most easy part to model because it's a straightforward equations, right? Revenues coming from, sales, and you subtract costs from these revenues, you have the net income, and then you have external funding coming from angels or grants or whatever. And then the firm valuation. Firm valuation is the value of your company. And often when we speak about equity split, it's the splitting of the value of the company. So if the company is valued at 3 million, and we agree that you take 50%, I take 50%, so that means that each one of us has $1.5 million in terms of equity ownership. So that's why valuation is very important. And the question of valuation becomes more and more important once you start getting funding. Because what investors will do is they will come and say, okay, your company worth 1 million, right? And we will give you $500,000, which means that after funding valuation, the company worth $1.5 million, right? And we will take 50% equity out of it, whatever, right? So reaching out to an agreement about the valuation of the company is a very tricky thing. And usually you wouldn't be able to argue with investors, right? Whoever have the goal, they set the rules. Financial compensation. Compensation for the team. How you will combine that. Founders and employees ownership, right? So this is the whole system in place. And it's very hard to find any other variables beyond these variables within the startup. There are a set of other variables outside of the startup, and these are the entrepreneurship ecosystem variables. These are variables coming from the environment that you are working in. If you are working in Boston, it's totally different than if you are working in Texas, for example, or if you are working in Silicon Valley, or if you are working in the Middle East, or if you're working in Europe, right? Because these are external variables from the environment that could vary from one place to the other. Fear of failure. Sometimes failing in a startup is a big shame, right? In the Middle East, in Asia, it's looked as a very bad thing. While here in the US, it's a good thing. You build something, you failed, you have the experience, right? So differences in culture. So this is kind of the schematic of the system. How the actual system looks like, it looks like something like that. And this is the people section, this is the product section, this is the customer section, this is the cash. All the purple ones are the external variables. You see? Financial market development, macroeconomic environment, media attraction, attention, fear of failure. This is the core team strengths. Institutions, all of these are like variables outside of your control. All the red ones are management decisions. Decisions that you make, like employees ownership, average salary, desired headcount growth, how many people you will hire. Pricing, the price of your product. These kind of things, the profit sharing. So these are decisions, management decisions that you can control. The rest you usually don't control. This is how the system comes in play. So asking about complexity. This is the complexity of the startup thing. So this is the kind of picture you need to have in your mind when you are speaking about startups, when you are thinking about building your company. This is the kind of beast you are dealing with. That's why it's hard. That's why many people fail. Because managing all of that, and all of that timing-wise and magnitude differs based on the stage you are in, right? So like the number of people, this will be different in the first stage than later on, right? I don't want to get into the details of system dynamics, but system dynamics can give you like visualization of that. So this is the kind of complexity, and this thing could be smaller in the first stages, but as you go, it gets larger. But the relationships are there. All the relationship between these variables are there all the time, right? And any change in one thing can impact the whole thing, right? If, for example, let's imagine that if you screw on the compensation of your team, right? So this is the compensation. And this will impact the attractiveness of your company. What will happen is this will impact the turnover. You will have people leaving you, right? And if the turnover gets impacted, this will impact the productivity because you are losing people. And this will impact the rate of development, product development. You will be slow in product development, right? And the whole thing gets impacted just from one single decision, screwing with the compensation, right? Getting greedy with your employees.
It's like taking food away from your organ.
Yeah. But I mean, it's for everything. What if you screw with the pricing? You charge the wrong price. What will happen? You will not get more customers, so you're not getting more revenue. And this will impact the cash you will have, so you're running out of cash. So if you want to scale, you don't have money to pay for people, so you cannot bring more people in. So what do you need to do? You want to get more investment, external investment, right? You see? Everything is related. Everything is related. And one change in one element of the system impact the whole thing and impact the timing of the thing, right? I do believe that experience is all about understanding timing and magnitude. So those experienced entrepreneurs, unconsciously, they understand the system. They have it in their mind. That's why they are very successful, because they see everything. They see the relationships. And they have a sense of timing. They know we should start hiring from now. They have the sense, right? Usually they say it's their gut feeling, their intuition. I don't think that there is anything like that. It's this sense. The sense that get developed over time by seeing many, many companies. You develop this sort of timing, right? So you know that you need to start hiring from now, because it will take you at least 4 months or 6 months to find the right person, and by that time you will need them, right? So experience is mainly about timing and magnitude. How much effort, how much money, how many customers you should get now, setting targets. Pricing, should you underprice it or overprice it now? These kind of things, that's why it takes experience to develop the sort of timing and magnitude thing, right? The good news is, at least you have this picture now. You understand how the whole thing works together, right? Part of my research, I was trying to identify what are the most critical factors, because let's say that the system is not working. Where are the leverage points that you want to focus on to get the system working again, right? And it turned out to be that one of the very important leverage point is your founding team, the core team strengths. And this has to do with the connections they have, the networks they have, the experience they have, the cohesion between the team, how the team is coming together. The diversity in the team turned out to be a very important thing. And then the complementary, because they could be diverse but not complementing each other, right? There is a difference. And then fear of failure coming from from the environment, from the ecosystem. So core team strengths is very important. The second one is the attractiveness of the company. You want all the time make sure that the company on itself is attractive. And this is different than the product. You can do all sorts of marketing for the product, but you need also to do marketing for the company. You want to make it is a very attractive place for people to join, right? And you need to have all sorts of ideas how you can make that. The other thing is the short cycle between customers' feedback and the product development. That's why there are concepts about lean startup and like going there and like experimentation and agility and these kind of things. All these kind of things is about how you can shorten the delay between getting customers' feedback and executing on this feedback, incorporating this into the product development. Very important. The other thing is the product attractiveness. How attractive is your product? And as you can see, there is many factors that impact the product attractiveness. And the last one is the service quality. Very important variable. These are the key leverage points. We start this conclusion from sensitivity analysis, doing sensitivity analysis in this model. So if things are not working, go back and check these 5. Those can get the whole system working again. Very quickly, these are the kind of like graphs that we can generate out of a system dynamics model. And what we were trying to do here is comparing the startup dynamics in the US versus the same startup but in a different country. The country we took here is in Egypt. So just by changing the ecosystem variables and keeping all the internal variables the same, we got a totally different behavior in cash, in human resources, the number of employees. And just to give you an idea, in the US case, the final valuation of the company was 240 million. In the Egyptian case, it was only 3.5 million. We fixed all the internal variables, just changing the external variables. So yes, the environment has a big impact. Where do you start your company has a big impact. Not necessarily on being successful or not, but in terms of the magnitude. How many people you will have, how many customers, how many cash you are getting in, these kind of things.
A company with $9 million in cash is only worth $3.5 million?
Yeah. Why not? Could happen. Depends on the liability they have, right?
Fair.
Yeah. This is the sensitivity analysis. And one last thought I want to leave you with. Few concepts that we discussed, the different perspectives to look at the startup, and that these perspectives, they change over time. So in each stage, you need to think about everything, not only the product, not only the customer, not only the team, not only the financials. You need to think about everything. And in reality, it's not linear, as you noted. It's very complex, and this is how complex it can get, right? And what you need to do now is you need to start thinking about, where is my competence in this map? So the model that you saw is kind of a map, right? You need to know where is your strengths, where are your weaknesses, and then you start planning where you should go from there. Do you need to develop your competence in fundraising, in financials? Do you need to start reading some stuff on retention, team building? Or it's more of the product? Or you don't need to do that. You want to get the right co-founder in order to complement what you have. Yes?
You know, there's like a Myers-Briggs test for personality. Is there a test for entrepreneurship, like the Myers-Briggs? I think
I haven't seen anyone who tried to do this kind of like a comprehensive modeling thing. Everyone is afraid to do that. It's a very risky proposition. So most people, they focus on, again, one element, one perspective, product development. And again, most of the books, most of the ideas, they are driven by one of those perspectives. Like Steve Blanks in Stanford. Amazing. I love his books. But most of his books is around what? Customer acquisition. 4 stages to epiphany. It's all about customer acquisition. Lean startup. Most of it has to do with what? What kind of they're focusing on? Product, right?
MVP.
Yeah, MVP and prototyping, right? And so on. So on. Now, when you go out and find a book, you will be able to say, this is focusing on which perspective. Find a book that integrates multiple perspectives. Well, I would be interested to see that, but I haven't seen any. The business model generator, about the business model generator, the business canvas, right? It's amazing, and it has lots of things, integrating lots of things. 2 problems. It does not consider the life cycle, what's happening over time, because it gives you a snapshot. To develop a business model. And the other thing is like team management, other things, customers. No, it can include customers, but team and management and stuff does not include these kind of things, right? So this is the problem. Now you have the map, and we need to go from this map. I will stop here, and I will see you tomorrow. Thank you very much.